Ask Mindful M, Season 2, Episode 5, Remember Who You Are. Nikki Giovanni's Ego Tripping Through the Lens of Marriage and Family Therapy. Hello. Welcome back to Ask Mindful M, where poetry and marriage and family therapy come together to create space for reflection and healing and becoming. I'm grateful you're here. Today's conversation begins with a question. Who told you who you were? Who helped shape the story you tell yourself? And if some of those stories were never yours to carry? Today's conversation is about remembering. Not becoming someone new, but rediscovering the strength that has always been within you. So why this poem? Throughout this season, we have climbed, protected our dreams, removed our masks, chosen to rise. Now, episode 5 asks something different. Can we celebrate who we are becoming? Nikki Giovanni's ego tripping is joyful, bold, creative, playful. At first glance, it almost sounds exaggerated. But underneath the humor is a profound invitation to imagine ourselves as worthy, to reject limiting narratives, and to embrace the richness of our identity and heritage. Nikki Giovanni is a poet, author, educator, and one of the defining literary voices of the Black arts movement. Her poetry celebrates Black joy, Black identity, imagination, community, and self-definition. And so, ego tripping is often misunderstood as arrogance, when it is actually a celebration of dignity, possibility, and cultural imagination. And so, because the poem remains under copyright, today's episode will explore its themes, and I won't be reading it in full. Feel free to check into it and take a read after listening. And so after today's conversation, I encourage you to spend a few moments with the complete poem. Sometimes reading it for yourself is a big part of the reflection. So one reflection I want to take as far as this poem are the stories we inherit. So we talked about dream passed down, right? So before we knew ourselves, other people began telling us who we were. So whether it's families telling us, hey, we do this or we do that, schools, be this way or be that way, or this part is too much. Communities, this is how we do things around here. Culture, some of those stories become gifts. So as I always say, Black culture, I would love to be Black in any format. The culture, for example, is just amazing. Others become limitations. Marriage and family therapy invites us to ask, Which stories still serve me? And which ones am I ready to rewrite? As another reflection, thinking about the difference between healthy pride versus ego. I got a big ego. Healthy self-worth is not arrogance. It is remembering your inherent value. Nikki Giovanni reminds us that celebrating ourselves doesn't diminish anyone else. Let me say that again. Nikki Giovanni reminds us that celebrating ourselves does not diminish anyone else. Sometimes healing looks like speaking kindly to ourselves for the very first time. Next, I want to consider imagination is part of healing. Healing isn't only about recovering from the past. It is also about imagining a future that once felt impossible. Hope begins with imagination. Families begin with imagination. Dreams begin with imagination. Before we can live differently, we often have to imagine differently. If you want to if you would like to live what you want to be, you first have to have the vision to see it happening. Next, think about becoming. Perhaps your greatest work isn't becoming someone else. Perhaps it's becoming more fully yourself. The version of you untouched by shame, untouched by fear, untouched by limiting expectations. And so that may have happened way behind in your story at the beginning of your journey. Being able to see past the shame, past fear, past limitations to be able to envision something new and take those steps. So my clinical pearl, if you will, from this episode in this poem reflection. One of the beautiful goals of marriage and family therapy is helping people separate inherited narratives from authentic identity. Healing often includes asking, who am I beneath everyone else's expectations? When we begin answering that question with honesty and compassion, we create space for healthier relationships with ourselves and with others. A moment of gratitude. Think about someone who saw something in you before you could see it yourself. Maybe they called out your gifts, your creativity, your leadership, your kindness. Because kindness is indeed a free gift that not everybody can carry well. This week, consider thanking them, not only for believing in you, but for helping you remember who you are. If this person is yourself and you are celebrating your gifts and sharing your gifts, thank yourself for believing in you and keep remembering who you are. And so, if you haven't already, take a moment to check out this week's reflection cards, which what part of your story are you finally ready to reclaim as your own? And our second card, healing isn't becoming someone new. Sometimes it's remembering who you have always been. As we close today, I'd like to leave you with one final question. If you believed your worth wasn't something you had to earn, how might you live differently this week? Run that back. If you believed that your worth was not something you had to earn, how might you live differently this week? Thank you for spending this time with me. Thank you for continuing to build this reflection community. Wherever today's reflection meets you, I'm glad you're here. Keep reflecting, keep healing, keep becoming, and kindly stay mindful. I'm Mary O, Associate Licensed Marriage and Family Therapist, and I look forward to our next review.